Not too many players in NCAA history can say they were part of an undefeated season.
I think it's the all-time greatest New Jersey college basketball team, to be honest with you. I think that team is still revered.
You left opposing teams two choices. You could try and run with us, which you can't, or you could try and slow us up, which you couldn't.
We wanted to just get out and will our personality. We just wanted to bury them every minute on the court. That was our mindset.
No three-point line, no shot clock, a ban on dunking that would end the following season. Yet the 1976 Rutgers Scarlet Knights electrified basketball, radiating a power centered around an old building at the heart of campus.
The barn was always crazy. I've never seen a home court advantage or just a home court atmosphere like there was in the barn.
First of all, the barn wasn't your typical arena. There was only bleachers on 3 out of the 4 walls. The wall that the players sat at the bench, if I remember correctly, that wall moved, and that was where the pool was at.
It was like a zoo. You could be a student and have student ID, but you couldn't get in because the place was packed.
It was a very hard place to play. The impact of the fan is almost like your high school days where inbounding the ball, you're right next to them where they can actually grab hold of you.
I used to always say, you know, when I hear the crowd and I feel like I could reach the rafters, I could jump over the rim and touch the ceiling, and we all felt that way.
When the fans cheered, it sent chills to your body. I mean, it just reverberated the whole building. I never witnessed anything like paint chips falling from the ceiling from the crowd, yelling and cheering for us.
Here come the Patriots as the barn is roaring. The crowd is clapping and hoping that the ceiling comes down, it appears.
It's ironic, the barn is actually built over a plot of land where the first college football game was played. I think that's who Rutgers thought they were supposed to be. They were supposed to be Princeton's rival. They never viewed themselves as a national program that could play against anyone.
Rutgers hadn't tasted postseason success in nearly a decade since Bill Foster steered the 1967 team, led by Bob Lloyd and Jim Valvano, to the NIT semifinals.
Bill laid the foundation, I think. He built the credibility. He made Rutgers somewhat of a name in basketball on the East Coast.
Their reputation basketball-wise was that they were representing a great state university, but they were playing middle major basketball.
When Dick Lloyd took over for Foster in 1971, a new assistant sparked the rise of Rutgers basketball.
I got a call from a guy by the name of Howard Garfinkel. Howard was 5-star basketball camp. He said, Dick, I got a guy I want you to talk to. I think you'd be a great assistant coach. His name's Dick Vitale.
Many of us have dreams of always wanting to go to the next level of whatever we do in life. And I wanted that challenge, and the State University to me was special.
Dick related to players at the high school level as well as anyone. I would say one of the top 5 recruiters, if not the East, the country.
New Rutgers president Edward Blaustein demanded an increased emphasis on athletics, opening the door for Lloyd and Vitale to lure top-flight talent to New Jersey.
He used the term bigger time, not big time, but he used the term bigger time that he wanted to move Rutgers to.
They offered athletic scholarships for the first time. Rutgers College went co-ed for the first time, and freshmen were eligible for the first time.
Dick Vitale was the reason why I came to Rutgers. He totally convinced me that we could do special things if I was one of the players that committed to Rutgers.
Michael was a jet, man. He could fly up and down the court. And I sold him on the fact that he was a New Jersey schoolboy star. What better way than leading your state university?
What you've just seen is the most devastated area in New York City. The rest of the country hears about Harlem all the time. Harlem, compared to Brownsville, is a stable middle-class community.
I came from Brownsville, Brooklyn. It's just a rough neighborhood. You know, it's basically a neighborhood full of housing projects, a lot of kids, It wasn't the best neighborhood to grow up in.
The 130,000 people here, mostly blacks and Puerto Ricans, have the worst poverty rate, the worst disease rate, the highest infant mortality rate, the worst narcotics problem, the worst housing conditions, the worst school record of any urban area in America.
You have to be a man, even if you're a boy in Brownsville, to get by. So he had a lot of toughness about him. He had a lot of layers that you couldn't penetrate.
Phil Sellers was past being a prodigy. He was almost a man-child.
As a high school player, he just dominated. And it wasn't against Cupcake City, because he had some great kids that he played against on a high school level.
Dick was at my high school more than any other coach. He came to see me play, and he even told me the things I love to hear. That, I can make an impact to the program right away if I choose Rutgers.
My basic sales pitch to him was, Philip, we've never, ever had one like you. All the schools recruiting you, they've had Phil Sellers. We've never had you. You could be such a star in the metropolitan New York area. And I pounded that because I believed it.
And then Phil Sellers broke his heart. All of his friends said, what's Rutgers? Go to Notre Dame. It's a huge name.
I could tell on the phone that he was really having a tough time even telling me. He said, but I'm going to be going to Notre Dame. And I wished him all the luck in the world. I said, hey, Notre Dame's a great university.
A last-minute change of heart would lead Phil Sellers back to Rutgers.
I wasn't a genius, but I wasn't an idiot either. I knew my academics wasn't, Notre Dame eligible. I gave that a lot of thought, and I think that was a big part of me backing out of Notre Dame.
He came over, I just thought it was going to be small talk. He said, I want to really go to Rutgers. I said, what? He said, I really do.
The one thing Rutgers had going for them at the time, they did not subscribe to the National Letter of Intent. So even though Sellers had signed a national letter to attend Notre Dame, he chose to go to Rutgers.
I think it took Phil probably longer than anyone else to trust his teammates. His curve was a lot longer than other people's curves.
He had this air about him, like he was the best, knew it, and nobody was going to tell him what to do or how to do it.
I would say I was a coach that shouldn't have been playing or a player that shouldn't have been coaching. I don't know. I was a leader that I had a hunger for winning.
I don't even know if we used to use the word swagger back then, but he had swagger. I told people later on when I covered the Yankees that Sellers reminded me of Reggie Jackson.
Sellers averaged 20 points a game, propelling the Scarlet Knights to the 1973 NIT. But Dick Lloyd's decision to step down as head coach that February became a turning point for the future of the program.
Vitale was campaigning for the job. He really wanted the job. He had done the recruiting of Sellers and Dabney and that whole freshman group.
Fred Gruninger was the athletic director. I said to him, Mr. Gruninger, I want the job so bad, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take it with the same amount of money I'm making now. Just give me 1 year, $11,000, and I promise you, you're going to be offering me a multi-year contract. That's how confident I am that I could do this job.
Dick was talking about turning out the lights and busting through the banners. They wasn't thinking on that type of level, and it made them nervous. And I can see that. Rutgers just wasn't ready to make that giant step that Dick Vitale had envisioned.
Dick was a little rough around the edges. You could see that. I guess in Rutgers' mind, they were always in the area with the Ivies. They wanted to be related to the Ivies. They didn't want to make a little waves at the time.
All of a sudden, out of the blue, came the University of Detroit. I was blown away that they were interested in me as the head coach. And I called Garfinkel up, and he said, they want you in Detroit. You're begging. You're too good to be begging. And you know what? I thought about it, and we took it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you one other thing. My wife's the only one that knows this. Cried like a baby on a plane. I was leaving home. I'd never been out of Jersey. My mother, my father, my family. And I've seen him. I remember being on a plane, saying to my wife, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm going to a stranger. I don't know anybody in Detroit. Know anybody.
With Dick Vitale off to Detroit, the Rutgers job went to Tom Young, who had guided American University to a 21-win season and the 1973 NIT.
I just thought that Rutgers had a much better chance of going forward than I could have taken American U. So I just felt that it was a sleeping giant, and as it turned out, it really was.
I don't know how things would have gone if Vitale had got the job. I'm sure he would have done well too, but getting Tom Young, you couldn't have asked for more.
I was teasing somebody the other day. I said there'd be no Dickie V television. If I got the Rutgers job, I would be retiring right about now. I said, with about 800 wins, I would have won big time.
After taking the Rutgers job in 1973, Tom Young brought a secret weapon with him to New Jersey.
Tom got the change, coming at Rutgers. He said, look, we recruited you. Let's come to Rutgers and see what you think about it.
He went out there in the back gym in the annex, and after 5 minutes, I just looked at Tom and said, where did you get this kid? And afterwards, Tom said to him, so Ed, what do you think of Rutgers? And he said, I like it, Coach. He said, would you like to come here? He says, yeah, I would.
So I talked to the athletic director at American and said, hey, what are we going to do about Eddie? Because if you don't want him, then I would like to take him to Rutgers. It was the best gift that I had going into that program, believe me.
Young quickly stamped his imprint on the program.
He could be easygoing, but there was work to be done, and it was not a democracy.
We practiced 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock, and there was never 1 second that we weren't doing something.
He motivated by putting 24 seconds on the clock instead of 30 and making us run 6 lengths of the court in 24 seconds.
There was a point that you had to tell your mind, just go. You're going to pass out. Just go until you do. He was tough. He was a tough guy.
The first challenge for the new coach? Connecting with his star player.
Me and Tom bumped heads. There was times that Tom threw me out of practice because he was just trying to get a point across that this was his team, not Phil's team.
He just wanted to run the whole show. He was good, but yet there can only be one chief. I mean, and it can't be a player. If it is, you're in deep trouble, right?
I always thought it was Phil's team, and Tom was just filling in because I was a year ahead of him. I was here before you came, Tom.
And as I told him one day, Phil, I'm going to be here 4 years. I don't know how long you're going to be here, but I'm going to be here 4 years. You're going to have to adjust, not me. And as a result, he became a good teammate. And I don't think he was a good teammate when I got there.
The Scarlet Knights reached the NIT for a second straight year in 1974. Then added Hollis Copeland, who helped spur Rutgers to their first ever NCAA tournament in 1975.
Hollis was a tremendous athlete. He could fill the wing and run the floor like nobody's business. He could fly out on the floor.
When we got the bid in 75, it was clearly a hurdle that we had jumped over. We felt that that was a stepping stone that would lead to bigger and better things.
We gave Louisville a nice little run, nice little scare during the game, and we were competitive, but we just wasn't on that level just yet.
We lost to Louisville. Louisville went on to the Final Four, so we knew we were knocking at the door.
As the 1976 season approached, the team forged an identity around its senior leaders.
Phil and I, being the seniors who were starters, I think that responsibility fell on us. Phil was blunt, direct, and I think I was more philosophical.
Dabney was a lot more laid back. He wasn't nearly as aggressive as far as getting on his teammates.
I think if Coach wanted to relay something to the team, went through Phil. Was a person that everybody respected. Phil had an intimidation factor attached to him. The way he looked at you, didn't smile, he had like that snarl.
Phil just wanted to be that guy. He was a straw that stirred the drink every day in practice.
If they wasn't playing right, I didn't hesitate to tell them that. Like, hey, you didn't pass me the ball enough. I would let them know that. I said, man, you got to see Phil's a key player on this team, and I need to get the ball. And half the time they understood it because they realized, like, hey, the guy's right, man. When he has the ball, it seems like things happen.
Mike played second fiddle to Phil. And I don't know how many people could have handled it as well as Mike Dabney handled that.
Mike was always the one who was boisterous in his display of how good we were. We can go undefeated. He would always say that.
I looked at the schedule and I said, I can't see us losing more than 2 games. We had all the pieces to be really good.
After winning their first 3 games, Rutgers garnered national attention thanks to a pair of December matchups with Eastern rivals Boston College and Penn.
I think they was building to where they were going to have to prove themselves still against the bigger schools. That BC game was one of them.
I said, this might be one of the top 2 or 3 teams that will play all year. The game was over in 5 minutes. I was stunned.
They didn't break into the top 20 until the middle of December. But they had a game in the Garden against Penn where they just smothered Penn. And Chuck Daly got up at a press conference. The first thing he says, I think that team can go unbeaten. So Tom Young sees Chuck in the alcove afterwards. He says, Chuck, what are you doing to me?
I just think that we just started finding ourselves. We started believing that we were the top team in the East and one of the top teams in the country.
As the new year approached, Young added freshman James Bailey to the starting lineup, and Abdel Anderson emerged, adding scoring off the bench.
Abdel Anderson, I can remember people saying, his shot looks weird. Well, when he starts missing, we'll make the corrections.
James Bailey, he and I both always talked about the possibilities of what we could do. It just was evident that he was going to take off.
Big hand for Jim Bailey. Standing ovation for Jim Bailey. They love him here at the bar. And very soon, Jim Bailey's going to be the Rutgers starting center. No question about it.
As a freshman, it wasn't necessarily needed for me to score points. My biggest presence was defense. You can have Eddie Jordan, Mike Dabney, the 2 guards, even for that matter, Phil Sellers playing out on the wing to overplay their guys, just be all over them, because if they did go by them, the rule was never let them go baseline. Send them down the middle, and that's how we basically beat people.
Once Bailey started after 6 games, we were incredibly quick. We were an unbelievably quick team.
The dynamics of the team changed entirely because we had a shot blocker in there, which allowed me and Hollis and Eddie to take more chances on defense.
With the parts all in place, the Scarlet Knights kept winning and winning.
There were times it was almost like if you looked at it as a heavyweight fight, and it would be like a knockout in the first round.
Our attitude was, if you get a great shot after 2 passes, take it. Why wait for 6 or 7 passes to get the same shot?
They went over 90 25 times. They went over 111 times. Fabulous to watch. They played full court pressure, and they ran and ran and ran, and this was an incredibly fast team. How many times did you hear announcers say, Sellers to Dabney to Jordan?
I was like, Mike, I'll throw the pass, take off, and we were beating teams like that, just getting the ball down court.
We just pressed people, and we wanted to get every steal. We wanted to stop every offensive possession on their part. We wanted to get layups. We wanted to run for layups. We could not dunk. The dunk rule was in effect that you could not dunk. And we wanted to see how high we could get our elbows over the rim.
Entering February at 16-0, Rutgers' first rumble with a ranked opponent would be the latest chapter in a century-old rivalry.
When we played Princeton, there was always the implication that we didn't meet their academic standards.
That was a big game just because of the athletic tradition between the two schools, but it was also a tremendous contrast in styles. You had Pete Carrill at Princeton, and if it took 6, 8, 10, 12 passes to get their shot, that's what they were going to do.
We want to press and we want to run and we want to get them down the floor, and Pete wants to do the opposite. He wants to hold the ball, and if he can hold it for a minute, he'll hold it for a minute.
Tom Young let me sit in with the coaching staff watching films of Princeton, and John McFadden detected a little move that Princeton did to set up their backdoor play.
Tom understood that we weren't going to chase too much. We wanted to still play our game, but not go beyond and overcommit and not get impatient. And that was a big thing.
They said we got to play defense for as long as they're going to keep holding the ball. And eventually, with our speed and our skill, we can either poke one away or get a hand on something.
The Knights are coming out a little more. Dabney steals. He's ahead of the field, and he lays it up and in. Mike Dabney, great play for Diff. 8 points for him. As that ball doesn't work for Princeton, and the Rutgers fans are going absolutely wild.
I let him pass. And I think he kind of relaxed and threw a pass that I'm sure he would have loved to get back.
It's off the rim, no good, and Sellers clears the board. Long down court for Dabney. He pulls it up, lays it up, and in. Mike Dabney, a big play for Diff.
So Rutgers, pulled away in that game, and after they beat Princeton, you figured there's no reason why they shouldn't go undefeated.
Nothing worthwhile in life is ever done without enthusiasm. That's Emerson. They liked playing, they liked each other, and they got better. And they had fun.
Fans want to call you something, and they didn't have anything to call me, and they liked the excitement of what we were doing, how we were winning.
That was the year that all the players started having nicknames, Earl the Pearl and different names like that. And my son and wife couldn't understand why Phil didn't have a nickname. So they thought up the name Phil the Thrill. The next day we went out and we made the shirt, Phil the Thrill Sellers.
I wore it to all the games, and I got to meet Phil and some of the other players, and I was able to get behind the scenes and hang out with everybody. Before the games, he would go in the locker room, and Hollis Copeland would do his homework with him. What kind of a spelling test do you have? Phil would check my math. I wasn't very good at math, but Phil would always tell me to bring my homework in so he could go through it with me before or after a game.
A young kid came out and was wearing this shirt, and it first surprised me. And I took a picture with him at half court, I believe.
I felt like it was a duty. I felt like I had to put it on and get to the games because I felt like if I wasn't going to wear it or I wasn't there, I'd be letting the team down. As the Rutgers winning streak neared 20, Phil Sellers continued to cement his name in the school record book, earning first-team All-America honors from the Associated Press.
He's still the all-time leading rebounder here at Rutgers. I mean, I don't know how he always got his hands on the ball. He used his body physically so well.
His posture and his presence made you want to give him the ball. And we got him the ball in his favorite spots.
Sellers drives, leave it up, and in! Sellers has become the all-time leading scorer in Rutgers basketball history.
I had a great college career. I'm glad I can leave here and say I'm the leading scorer, leading rebounder. That means a lot, that means I at least accomplished something here,
The team's fame began to stretch beyond campus, with the spotlight even finding players on the end of the bench.
With the media coverage all of a sudden, maybe a little more TV, a little more everywhere. Rutgers wins again, Rutgers wins again. Everybody wanted to align themselves with Rutgers.
I guess we kind of became the household name where everyone wanted to see Rutgers basketball play. Became more New Jersey's team.
Time-bound jumper, puts it up. That's 100 points for Rutgers. The 4th point for Jeff Time-bound.
We're all fighting for playing time, and Jeff's kind of niche was when we got to 98 or 99, he would get the ball, and it was going in.
4-year vet Jeff Kleinbaum was again carrying his lucky rabbit's foot when he scored the 100th point against the Blackbirds. One of 7 times he turned the trick.
Kids who were little then are now in their 30s and 40s. It's like, I remember him. He was Mr. 100 when I was a little kid. So it was I guess it was identity, but it was funny.
Now at 20-0, fifth-ranked Rutgers, playing most of the game without Eddie Jordan, received a scare from Manhattan.
It was a combination of disciplining and hurt knee. Tom disciplined me for not coming to practice the 2 previous days, and it was just immature on my part.
We had a nice sized lead in the second half. We somehow squandered it.
Right before the end of the game, Phil came to me and said, "Coach, Eddie's supposed to sit out a game." I said, "Yes, that's right." He says, "Well, he sat out a game. I think he should play."
They're calling for Eddie Jordan. Eddie Jordan is getting off the bench. He's coming into the game. The crowd is on its feet, going wild.
I remember going to that game right before the end of regulation, and I think it was tied game. I had probably the last shot, and the ball felt so weird to me. I had not touched the ball all game.
He sat there a long time. He didn't enjoy sitting there 1 minute, let alone as long as he sat there. And so he said, okay, he paid his price. He knows he can't do it again, and let's go ahead and play him. And we did, and it worked out well.
Shakespeare said, "There's a tide in men's lives that, if taken at the height, leads on to fortune." I think that game at that time said that.
The last 4 or 5 games, you know, it was kind of a struggle. We had to really keep pushing and pushing to get ourselves motivated.
People were looking, will this be the day? Will this be the team that upsets Rutgers and snaps their undefeated season?
With each win, it got even harder. The pressure started building up, and I was like, God, man, where's it gonna happen?
The final hurdle in front of perfection, St. Bonaventure in the barn.
The Rutgers Scarlet Knights come on the court right now. Standing ovation for them, and the crowd.
I never heard anything like it. It was as if you were on air.
Rutgers looking for number 26 in a row, 19th time in college history. If they win, that feat will have been accomplished. Throws the ball up. Bailey controls the Dabney. Up at the Jordan. Drives, lays it up and in. Eddie Jordan.
It was one of those games where you felt like you had to win, otherwise everything else would be lost.
The Bonaventure game, they came in sky high. They had an opportunity to spoil our entire season, and they played that way.
They played probably a perfect game, Bonnie's did. I mean, they were making shots that I thought were really, really, really tough shots.
We knew they had good players, but we didn't know that they were that good. They were almost as athletic as we were.
Quickly up at the Waterman, ahead of field, drives, lays it up and in. And Rutgers trails by 7 with 6 minutes to go.
For us to come together as a group and come back from that, it was special. What we had a knack of doing was playing full court, just aggressive defense to the point where it turned the ball over, and that resulted in the fast break layups.
Barron to the lane, feeds behind the back of the house, puts up block by Bailey. Tremendous block to Domney, racing with Hagan, behind the back of Sellers, drives, there's up and in. Phil Sellers, 23 points. Rutgers up by 1, 2:16 remain.
I said, we're not going to lose this game. And I think everybody else felt the same way.
Sellers driving now to the foul. Spins the front, jump back, rather in. Phil Sellers has 25 points. And Rutgers leads 80-79 with 1:40 left.
I mean, everyone knows that one that means the most, and you're down to that last minute, that's the game that's gonna, you know, you better be ready for, because you can mess around and lose.
Rutgers 82, St. Bonaventure 80, 48 seconds to go. As they come onto the court, it's Jeff Reinbaum into the game.
I hadn't played for about 3 or 4 games, and coach goes, "Jeff, get in the game." I thought it was a complete joke. I thought somebody was just pulling my leg. And he said, "No, you get in."
Reinbaum to Sellers, nice 4 corners right here, slowing things up. As Saddlin gets right in front of us, and now Jordan, right side, 45 feet out, 35 seconds for an undefeated season. As now Dabney loses to Hagan.
And I started running to try to catch up with the play, and all I kept saying was, "He's not scoring." All of a sudden, I hear the whistle blow.
And a foul on the play. Foul on the play. It would have been the easy basket, but we got a whistle on the play.
Was there a foul or wasn't there a foul? To go undefeated, somewhere in there, you're going to need a little bit of luck, and you're going to need a call.
Let's see what the call is. Barron commits the foul. Foul on Jim Barron, I believe.
Wasn't a hard foul. but it was a foul call. And once the referee blows his whistle, there's no taking it back.
Dabney at the line. The shot is on its way. It's good. Mike Dabney hits the free throw. The Knights are up by 3 points. Dabney has another one. This crowd is going crazy. Dabney's second shot is around the rim and good. 84-80. The Knights on top.
St. Bonaventure played a hell of a game, but we outscored them 17-5 at the end.
Roach, taken by Sellers. 17 seconds and Rutgers has the ball. Leads Copeland. Copeland drives. Plays it up. No good. Rebound Copeland. Puts it up again and he's fouled on the play.
You have the ball. Why would you not go for the layup? You know, if dunking was in, I definitely would have gone there for the dunk.
11 seconds left. The Knights on top by 4. The shot is good. Rutgers by 5. Rutgers by 5. 85-80. 11 seconds to go. Hagan inbounds. Plus the midcourt line. Sees Barrett. Spins. Jumps. Rotherham no good. Rebound Bailey. 4 seconds. Layup by Sanders. Rotherham no good. 1 second and that's it. Undefeated season for Rutgers. An undefeated season for the...
How they crashed the floor after the game, it was unbelievable. A feeling that you'll never forget.
I saw the kids jump up onto the nets. They were putting the baskets up at that time. They were hanging from the nets and the rim as the basket was being elevated.
Lots of people, lots of happy faces. There were so many people in the streets. It was incredible.
It was absolutely wild. We're undefeated. It's a scene that I'm sure that they will never forget.
Afterwards, they drove the bus down College Avenue, and it was a sea of people. And we were all like, guys, look at this.
It was incredible. People jumping on the bus, people trying to get into the windows, and I had to reach out and touch people. We wanted to get out of there and get on campus and celebrate with everybody else.
We felt like rock stars, you know, people yelling, screaming, and we're just like, it's surreal.
It was magical. They go down to Old Queens and they ring the bell, which is only for special occasions.
It was quite an honor. There's only a few teams or a few people that have been able to do that.
There were 10,000 people outside the game. It was a mob. I lose Joey. It turns out that he was with Phil. Phil carried him on the bus with the players to go up and ring the bell.
I felt that, you know, with what he had done and knowing his family and his dad and his mom, I thought it'd be nice that he enjoyed some of the excitement that we were experiencing. It makes me feel good that, you know, we brought that type of excitement here to New Brunswick.
We were just so happy for Rutgers and for the community. They brought the campus together, and they all rejoiced in our success. That was a treasured moment.
We were just living the sign of the times. Dip had the big fro, Phil had the big fro, we had the big bell bottoms, the platforms, Ed had a big fro.
You know, it was the 70s. Everybody's hair was like that, but mine was bigger. My hair was better than everybody else's.
Leisure suits were in, and at that time, it was accepted as much as a shirt and tie.
The checks and the plaids, we didn't like so much, but he threw on a leisure suit, and we were like, this dude is in. He's a rock star.
Posting an undefeated regular season record, Rutgers faced St. John's in the ECAC championship game. One more showcase for New York native Phil Sellers at Madison Square Garden.
It came down to a very close game, and Sellers said, no, I should get the ball. I should shoot it.
He says, Coach, just give me the ball. And typical Phil, I says, Phil, we're going to do what we've been doing. Just be quiet, okay?
I said, Tom, I can take Beaver Smith every time I get the ball. He's just not quick enough to guard me. I honestly was surprised that Tom said, yeah. He was like, go ahead, give Phil the ball, and let's see what he can do with it.
Sellers left by the foul line. He drives, backs it up, and in!
I've never seen anything like that. You know, where someone said, give me the ball, I'm going to take it over. I'm going to win this game.
Sellers drives the lane, holds up, and puts up the shot from 15. It's good!
3 times in a row, Sellers just went one-on-one against Beaver Smith and Sellers scored.
Looks like Rutgers going to Phil. Sellers drives the right side, lays up, and in!
To me, that was classic Sellers.
Now 28-0, a rematch with in-state rival Princeton in the NCAA tournament's opening round nearly ended the Scarlet Knights season.
You beat them once, you know, Pete Carew is not going to let us beat them twice, man. He ain't going to let that happen.
It's almost impossible to dictate against the Princeton offense. And so as much as we wanted to, we couldn't. And so we come down to the wire.
15 seconds to go. One of these two teams' season is going to end very shortly. Drives against Dabney, no foul. Malloy has the ball in the lane. Cannot put up a shot. Blocked by Copeland and a foul call, and it's short.
I don't know what I was thinking. I was over-aggressive. I overcommitted. It wasn't a smart basketball play. And I put my team in jeopardy.
The conversation on the bench was, it can't end like this. It just can't. This is not supposed to be the ending that's written.
Foul, Peter Malloy to the line, shooting 1-on-1. Tom Young decides he's going to call 2 timeouts to icing. Something that was probably pretty smart because Malloy had only shot 16 free throws that year and only made 9.
I was sick to my stomach at the timeout before he went out there. We just kept saying, oh my God, he's going to make these. We don't have enough time to get down and win.
So here we are. Let's give him as much time as we can for him to think about how important it is for him to make that free throw.
So we go back to the line, and I believe it was Dip, Mike Dabney, said, Coach, he's uneasy. You know, pressure, bust pipes.
When he shot the shot, as soon as he released it, I knew it was off because it was too high.
Heath Malloy has the ball. Puts up the first shot. It's no good. Rebound taken by Dabney, and that is it. That is it. Rutgers has won.
I remember Dip tells me to this day, he said, no one's going to grab that ball from me. He went up to get that ball, and I'm glad he did.
I was like, oh, man, woo, did we squeeze that one? We got past that one. You know, it was not easy. We had a little luck blown our way.
Advancing to the Eastern Regional, Rutgers traveled to Greensboro, rubbing shoulders with political and film stars in town for the 1976 presidential race before meeting UConn in the Sweet 16.
I happened to take a Ronald Reagan campaign poster off the wall and had Jimmy Stewart and Ronald Reagan sign it.
That's what sticks out the most, is that when we ran into the Republican campaign, I actually have a photograph of myself with Jeff Kleinbaum and Jimmy Stewart, the actor, and that's one of my prized possessions.
I think we were really focused. We went down there with the idea that we wanted to go to the Final Four. You know, there was no question.
When we got down to Greensboro, we were playing against Connecticut, who we had played during the year. We kind of, you know, had their number.
UConn they were always good. At that time, we felt that we could dictate a little bit to them. And we felt we could dictate to quite a few teams. That was one of them that we felt that we would really bother with pressure.
A 14-point win over the Huskies left Rutgers one step from the Final Four. VMI, upset winners over Tennessee and DePaul, would be the remaining obstacle.
They just weren't as athletic as we were. We could kind of overwhelm them a little bit, get after them. You know, we had the ability on the defensive end to make teams play faster than they wanted.
VMI didn't know much about us. I didn't think their ball handling was good. I felt good about I could control the point guard.
Stolen by Stewart. Stewart racing out of the field. Drives, lays up and in.
Ed had a great series there in Greensboro. Everybody else pitched in, but Ed stood out.
Jordan now moving against Kelly Lombard to the foul line. He puts up a jumper from there. Good. Ed Jordan, 21 points, the leading night scorer. Rutgers up by 12, 70-58.
It took a while, but then towards the end of the game, we were able to break it loose and get that 10, 15-point lead that we needed to seal that game.
Jump shot is no good. Rebound, Bruschier, and that is it. The Scarlet Knights are going to Philadelphia for the Final Four.
After that game, our locker room was berserk. I mean, we were really into it. It was an enjoyable night, and rightfully so.
they had a parade for us in New Brunswick. I was never in a parade. I never went to a parade. Now I'm in it.
I think in the NCAA East Regional that was their shining moments, obviously, that they put everything together. They were so confident. They were the best team in all ways in that regional.
We were that Cinderella team that no one knew anything about that comes into the Final Four at 31-0.
With their winning streak at 31, Rutgers joined college basketball's Blue Bloods at the Final Four in nearby Philadelphia, including the undefeated and top-ranked Indiana Hoosiers.
For Rutgers to be in the conversation with Indiana, Michigan, UCLA, it's, which one doesn't sound right in that equation?
It was still like Indiana was undefeated and Rutgers was undefeated with an asterisk. People were still saying they didn't beat anybody great.
I was praying that we came up against them. Not that we would win or anything. I just wanted to see two undefeated teams go into the final. It's a test of wills.
I don't think that we deserved as much respect, to be honest with you. We had a good schedule, but we didn't have a Big Ten or an ACC schedule. I didn't like defending it, but I understood it.
We said, look, it was like bowling. Set the pins up. We're going to knock them down.
Rutgers' opponent on college basketball's grandest stage, Michigan, winners of 10 of their last 11 since an overtime loss at Indiana in February.
We've never been to the Final Four before. First time we come out to practice, man, you got 10,000 people sitting there watching you practice, man. That's odd, man. I'm like, damn, we don't get this much people doing games here watching us practice.
It's a big deal because it's the bicentennial in Philadelphia, and they're playing in front of 18,000 people, and it's a train stop away. And I think the game became too big for them. I really do.
I remember that they announced we're going on the air. We're about to hear 70 million people watching, so let's give it a real Philly welcome. And it kind of like, whoa.
Just seemed like it was too many lights, too many cameras, too much commercialism in the game. You know, I thought it was going to be like a playground game, like we're used to the playground, and that was far from it.
Once we hit the floor, things kind of like changed. Can't explain why, but it changed. We hit a rough spot.
We missed probably 3 or 4 drives down the middle. They changed the dunk rule the next year. If we had the dunk rule, I think it might have been a different game.
We can't make the shots that we've been making all year long. We couldn't put it in the ocean, for God's sakes.
Shots that we normally would make were just not going in. We're just coming out. We'd go halfway in, boop, come out.
We were playing with a brand new basketball. The ball was really, really slippery. Seems like a trivial matter, but they had rosin on the floor, and they're wiping their hands in the rosin and dusting their hands off. We didn't have rosin.
Down the right corner, Holland Copeland jumper from 15. Off the rim, no good. Rebound tipped underneath, taken by Aldell. By Anderson. Now he puts up a long jump from 20. No good. Bad shot by Anderson. Rutgers having a horrible afternoon.
They willed their personality in the game, and I got dejected. I know that. And I felt that we did as a team.
The biggest thing for me in that game was that it was one of the first times that we met a team that could match our speed. Michigan had a kid by the name of Ricky Green who was as fast with the basketball as most people were without the basketball, you know?
I mean, they turned the ball over 28 times that game, but we turned it over ourselves. And they were better than us that day.
Scarlet Knights have nothing to be ashamed of. They got this far. 3, 2, 1, and that is it. University of Michigan has broken the Scarlet Knights undefeated streak, defeating them by a score of 86-70.
I tell you what, it was awful. I understand it should be awful. I mean, there's no way you can lose a game like that and go in a locker room and think that anybody's going to be smiling, that's for sure.
To actually lose against a team like Michigan that really wasn't better than we were, that was the hardest thing for me personally to stomach.
Dismay, not anger, just some degree of shock, some great degree of disappointment, knowing that we didn't play the way we could.
I was riding back in the cab with Tom, believe it or not. He just kept mumbling, it's the worst game we ever played, worst game. We picked the wrong time to play the worst game of the season.
48 hours later, the disheartened Scarlet Knights regrouped to play UCLA in the third-place game.
I think we were so-so at best. You lose a lot when you lose, and now consolation doesn't mean anything, third or fourth one. So anyways, it wasn't easy getting ready to play.
On UCLA, put their lineup on the floor. I just knew right from there we're not going to win. They had 7-foot Drollinger. We haven't played against a 7-footer all year. They had David Greenwood and Richard Washington as their forwards, both 6'10", 6'11". I've never guarded a guy that big.
Down low, stolen by Dabney. Dabney ahead of the field to Ed Jordan. He has the pass, drives, lays it up and in. Rutgers has the lead this time.
And we hung with them for a while. They wore us down, and we kind of fell off. I think we made a run at them at the end and just ran out of gas.
I think that when the players think back, they'd rather think of the 31-game winning streak as opposed to the 2 games at the end of the year.
Is it disappointing? Yes. Does it take away what we accomplished? From my perspective, no, not at all.
That's a great college basketball team. And for the naysayers, it's always, hey, they weren't that good. They shouldn't have gotten this far. But the proof is that they did, and they had a wonderful run.
A lot of the electricity went out of the program when Sellers and Dabney left. Their last NCAA tournament was 1991. It's still hard to believe they haven't been back.
I'm thankful for the team, and I'm always going to love my teammates and the coaches, but I would love to see Rutgers do well again so we can celebrate the next generation.
In 2013, Rutgers attempted to bridge the past and present, naming Eddie Jordan head coach.
I think it meant a lot to school. I think it meant a lot to the players that one of our own came back to be the coach.
1, 2, 3, Rutgers! 4, 5, 6. Because I'm 76 team, maybe what I experienced I can bring back to this program. But there's a lot more involved. It was a tough situation, but leaving Rutgers after my 3rd year, I see that we've put a lot of things in place. Our kids graduated. There's a lot of good things that happened. When I took the job, I said winning is always in the equation. And we didn't win enough, but I thought we had at least built a foundation.
My wife actually calls it the team that never dies, because they keep bringing us back, which I so respect. I was part of something that I was proud of, and that was being around my teammates and my coaches. Except for my family, my wife and my kids, that they are the most important things in my life.
It's always good to get together with family, and that's what we consider ourselves, family.
40 years doesn't get any better than that. Only thing different is the stories are being told, but they're being told a little slower.
We just gelled like we should have, and now, 40 years later, everybody still loves one another, and we still seem to get along like if we played 40 years ago.
Everybody comes back. They stay in touch all year long, and they're really close, and they have a great time.
It is an incredibly unique group of people in that there's just no friction, there's respect, there's just a bond.
The reality is, this will never happen again, more than likely, in this school. I hope that we get really, really good in all of the sports. We can do it here, and I look forward, but no one will ever do what we did.
Tom would do some things for us, and on the buses, he would give us a case of beer and say, look, 2 beers a piece, that's the limit.
Everybody on the team knew not to go overboard, but occasionally, he would, have a beer.
I wasn't a big beer guy back then, so teammates would say, hey, Stan, you gonna drink that?
You can't do that anymore. Drinking age was 18 back then.
I know one thing, it sure didn't hurt us all year long.